Better just turn it off because it's a little bit extreme, isn't it? And I'll try and talk to you about this. Okay, so this is just a few slides I put together to explain to some colleagues what we meant by an Institute of Arts, what we meant by a creative school. And I think you'll probably find yourselves buying into some of these ideas from the point of view of the education that you expect to have as architects as well. So let's see if we can. Right, so what is the vision we have? Oh, come on. It's this. These are actual photographs from actual schools of art, design and architecture. So skateboard at university workshops and park your car in the canteen. Exactly what a place like this does not like. And I actually remember when the Furnivall building was built down the road here, meeting two security men with walkie-talkies, charging around, saying things like, "He's going this way, cut him off at the pass," you know, in the upper regions of the Furnivall building. I said, "Oh, what's going on? You got somebody you know, stealing property perhaps, or vandalising?" "No, on the closed circuit TV we've seen somebody riding a bicycle on one of the corridors." And it was literally one of the researchers who works over the had a rather unusual BMX bike, and as designers do, you know, they were sort of having a look at it, and one of the other lads, young engineer, said, "Oh, I fancy a go on this," and he rode it for about 30 seconds up and down this empty corridor, and somebody saw him on the TV, on the CCTV, and that was the worst thing that had happened in the university that day. So, we have a kind of complicated agenda imposed by the government, the university, to do all these different things, but actually, what we really think is important are these: place, community, learning and scholarship. That was my personal manifesto for what this place ought to be like. And a big one on top, which is the idea of passion, which seems to be, Jeff and I have been in a meeting where passion was sadly lacking, wasn't it? All the other stuff.
Tables, rules.
Oh yeah, I mean,
format rules.
Yes, you as long as you've got a set of objectives and timelines in the approved university template, you're a manager. But the idea of having passion for what you do doesn't seem to signify. But we think this is quite important. And this sums up a lot of what we're talking about. Now, there are two kinds of passion here. There's an obvious superficial one, and there is a deep passion, which is an intellectual passion. So these are stills from a movie produced by Breda Beeben, who's one of our professors, a professor of media arts, an astonishingly talented person and an internationally famous artist, as well as a wonderful teacher. These are stills from a video she captured, almost like a home movie, at a gypsy music festival in Serbia, which is her home. And she identified these two people. This woman here is a professional dancer, and this guy is a drunk. And for about 2 or 3 minutes, there was a little interplay between them. And she realised that this was kind of a little sociological gem that she captured here, an emotional gem, this interaction between these people, which if you'd seen the original home movie, it would just be something that happened in a flash, and it wouldn't have been that interesting. But Breda worked with an editor, Steve Sprung, to produce a series of slow motion clips in very high quality, movie quality video, which teased out, if you like, the emotional content of the things she'd seen, until it became apparent that inside this rather fleeting exchange between a dancer who was just there for the money really, and this drunk who lurched onto the stage and did this thing with money that they do of passing money to the person who dances as a mark of appreciation, but he's not allowed to touch her at any point, and he's teasing her with the money, and she's going for and he's holding it back, and it's actually extraordinarily sexy. So basically, and all these people in the background, this woman here was mentioned by the art critic of The Guardian as being an amazingly evil presence in the whole thing. This guy here is the drummer, and he's absolutely entranced by what's going on. You know, so it's really exciting, something out of about an hour of home movie that suddenly turned into a little 2-minute gem, which was then amplified with backing music and slow motion and video editing until it became a really passionate piece, of which the same art critic of The Guardian said he was unable to stand after he'd seen it. So this is somebody creating a very intense artwork about a passionate moment. And the passion that I'm interested in is the kind of effort that two people put in to teasing out the content of this unrewarding, unprepossessing material until a real gem emerged. That kind of intellectual, creative passion that says there's something in here if we can only find it. And I think you might recognise that in some of the work that you do, that often you start with something fairly bland, an idea of something that may or may not turn to anything interesting. And if you've got a real passion for doing something special, you can find that something special in there. So that's the kind of underlying concept of passion which I hope we're able to engender. Now, the idea of place seems to be very important. This is the St Lucas School of Architecture in Brussels, and it's an old department store. And you can see they've just done a very obvious thing, actually. They've stripped everything away until it's grey concrete. The guy there is Simon Bowen, who's one of our design researchers here. And this is the canteen. Note the ping pong table. What's interesting about this canteen is that about 2 minutes before I took this photograph, it was completely empty, although there was a wonderful aroma of pastries which are baked fresh on the premise. You'll hate this. They bake wonderful pastries on the premises. There's a couple, an old lady and a young man who run the cafe. Bake fresh pastries, and for I think €1.50 you get a fresh baked pastry and a cup of real delicious coffee for your break, and the smell of the pastries waft through the whole college in the morning. It's just, anyway, this lot charged in, and also and these square tables, rectangular tables, they started moving them around like mad, forming groups. See here, cables. There were cable reels, I guess, well, just lying around. Again, our health and safety people would hate it. Because of course they've all got laptops, and they plugged them in, and within a minute there was coffee, there was pastries, and there was a lot of conversation and a lot of intense group work going on. Something about this space created the idea that you could do things, that it was a social space, and it becomes a place. Because places only exist in the mind of the occupier. And that seems to be important, that you can't build a place. You can create the conditions for a place. Who's to say what the conditions are? Is it the tables that allow themselves to be easily moved around? Is it the cable reels? You know, I don't know. This guy here was literally. I took the first photograph here. I turned around. He'd gone and found himself a quiet place. There was a plug on the wall, 2 seats, and it's a nice empty little gallery space they have in the entrance. And for him, that was where he could go to something quiet, different from the place. And you know, maybe he'll remember that. This is interesting. I later on in the day saw these students, the same space, so the guy in the chair was sitting here, I took the photograph from there. These students now have created a space to do some work. They're doing this model making project, they've sellotaped stuff to the wall, and they're getting on with the sharp knives and the glue to make something. And there's a real engagement going on. At first I thought, oh, this is good, they've got these wonderful demountable furniture, and then I realised it's the ping pong table from the canteen, which in the previous shot earlier in the day had been used as a place to pile your coats on. So do you get the idea? What I'm saying is that place comes from that becomes, actually that might be a very memorable experience for that group. The day they worked together on that project might be something that really sticks, and yet it comes from having a ping pong table. One or two other ideas of space. This is actually at the Norwegian School of Architecture and Design in Oslo. In one of the studios, they just got an old sofa they found. One of the tutors had turned the window into his office into a place where he communicated, so it was a place where you went to get information rather than just walk past and saw him at work, where there was a kind of interface between you and him even if you never spoke. So the idea that spaces can equal places but don't always equal places unless people inhabit them and make them into places seems to be very important. I'm losing the plot. This is one of the design studios in Brussels. It's empty. Because it's empty, it can't be a place. There's nothing happening there, is there? The same students might or might not turn it into something really workable. And this is the guy who will probably always kind of have a sense of that place where he went to do his little bits of work. So 2 empty rooms, one seems to want to be a place.